In order to date her lover, she would use walking dogs as an excuse every day, hide from her husband, sneak into the back door of her lover's house, then put on the red high-heeled shoes she had prepared and hurriedly walk into her lover's manor. As soon as she entered the door, she took off her windbreaker, showing her sexy figure in front of her lover, and started a short and sweet date. However, what she didn't know was that there was always an eye watching her every move. Gemma is a beautiful and elegant interior designer, and her husband Charlie is a gentle and honest repairman. In order to stay away from the noise of the city, she left London and moved to a small town in Normandy, France. When she first arrived in the town, her passionate neighbor Martin broke into their life. Martin ran a bakery. From the first time he saw Gemma, Martin was deeply attracted by her elegant figure and her shy attitude, especially when Gemma enjoyed the bread, which made him drunk. After that, Martin unconsciously began to look down on Gemma and intentionally created all kinds of seemingly accidental encounters, and Gemma's every move was like a magic that moved his heart. One night, Gemma's line of old flowers stopped, and Martin enthusiastically helped to restore the palace. In order to show his gratitude, Charlie invited Martin and his wife to the house for a reunion. But Martin's mind was not on this party at all. His eyes have always been on the charming Gemma. His heart has been completely occupied by Gemma, and every move of Gemma has affected his mind. But at this moment, a mouse broke the peace in the house. Gemma was frightened to the point of her beauty and cried out to buy medicine to kill the mouse. Martin, on the other hand, has decided to raise both dogs. After all, the batch of mouse medicine may be fatal to the pet. This little gap seems insignificant, but it also inadvertently draws the distance between Gemma and Martin. The next day, Gemma came to Martin's bakery again. He was very curious about how Martin made the bread so delicious, and Martin did not hesitate to bring Gemma to his workshop and teach him how to make it without reservation. When Gemma picked up his long hair and took off his coat, he immediately emitted a sexy and charming atmosphere. Looking at Gemma's graceful body, Martin had a different feeling in his heart. He found that he had fallen in love with the woman in front of him. Since then, Martin has been paying attention to Gemma all the time, as if to pierce the other party's heart. He also secretly followed Gemma's past diary and read it carefully one by one to learn more about Gemma. As time went by, Gemma's life in the small town gradually lost its freshness in her husband. Martin was immersed in his work day and night, and he was less and less concerned about Gemma. This feeling of being ignored made Gemma feel that life was like a pool of dead water without life. Loneliness in the heart began to grow rapidly, but Martin did not notice the changes in his wife's heart at all. He was still busy with his work, but the turn of fate happened inadvertently. One day, when Gemma was taking a walk with the pet, unfortunately, he was covered by a bee in his back. Martin happened to pass by. With Gemma's urgent request, Martin hurried to help her untie her clothes. Although he took off the bee on his body, the poison was deep in Gemma's back. A little surprised, Martin could only do as the other party asked and sucked out the poison needle with his own mouth. At this time, the rich, handsome Rudolph appeared in the town, but before Rudolph could figure out what was going on, Gemma suddenly fainted. Then the two rushed to send Gemma to the clinic. Fortunately, it was just a slight allergy that caused a shock. Although the body was still a little weak, it did not cause serious consequences. On the way home, Rudolph, who was driving, could not concentrate on his work. He watched Gemma through the rearview mirror from time to time. At this time, he was already touched by the touching Gemma, and Gemma also found that Rudolph was looking down on her. She pretended to be very weak on purpose and leaned on Martin's shoulder. Although Martin looked calm, he was already happy inside. But from that day on, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, Rudolph always met Gemma, and they had a good talk. The distance between them was also getting closer quickly. The ambiguous atmosphere was spreading between them, and all this was seen by Martin. He was full of anxiety and unease. He clearly realized that the relationship between Gemma and Rudolph seemed to be a little strange. Not long after, Charlie suddenly wanted to invite new friends from the town to visit. Gemma went to the supermarket to buy drinks. She met Rudolph again. Rudolph specially recommended a white wine for Gemma and took the opportunity to invite Gemma to visit his manor. Although Gemma did not agree immediately, she should have prepared dinner in advance. But on the way home, she turned into Rudolph's manor. She knocked on Rudolph's door with a freshly bought wine. Rudolph enthusiastically took Gemma to visit the manor, and at this moment, the atmosphere between the two became subtle. A kind of unspeakable ambiguity flowed out. What surprised Gemma was that her every move was within Martin's sight. She followed Gemma all the way to the door of the manor. She guessed that Gemma might have been captured by Rudolph. In the evening, friends came to visit Gemma. Everyone was talking. Only Martin was unhappy. He was still wondering if Gemma had done something wrong in the manor. This afternoon, when he saw the mark on Gemma's neck, he was more sure of his thoughts, and Charlie didn't know about it. His wife had crossed the line of morality. In the following days, Martin paid more attention to Gemma's whereabouts. He found that as long as Charlie was not at home, Gemma would bring pets. Through the dense forest, he went to the manor and met Rudolph. After the two became close, he would wear a dress and dance in the manor. Martin saw all this. Although he was full of resentment and hatred, he couldn't stop it. The next day, Gemma came to Martin's bakery. Gemma, who was raised by love, showed off her irresistible charm. With Martin's sharp eyes, Gemma felt that her soul was being tested. After paying the money, she left in a hurry. Martin personally sent the bread to Gemma's house. When he came to the door, there was a happy sound in the house. Martin quietly approached and wanted to pry into the secret of the house. When he saw Gemma take Rudolph home to have fun, Martin's heart seemed to to be cut by a knife. He unconsciously crushed the bread in his hand. And in the days to come, Gemma, who was immersed in love, was crazy in love. She had long abandoned her marriage and morality. She and Rudolph had more and more fun in the manor. Even in a moment of passion, she accidentally broke Rudolph's mother's favorite antique statue. In the face of this accident, Rudolph was worried. After all, it was an antique that his mother had seen as a treasure. But Gemma didn't care. She thought her husband Charlie would fix it, and she cared more about her and Rudolph's future. She even wanted to elope with Rudolph, and all her actions were taken in by Martin. This also made Martin more painful for his own selfish desire. And in order not to let Gemma get deeper and deeper in this wrong relationship, Martin pretended to be Rudolph and wrote a breakup letter to Gemma. When Gemma saw the letter, she immediately called to ask, but she couldn't get through. At this time, Charlie saw that his wife was in a hurry. He was confused, but Gemma had no time to think about anything else. She quickly passed through the dense forest and came to the manor. She wanted to find Rudolph and ask him, but as soon as she walked into the door, she received a message from Rudolph. Rudolph said he couldn't go to London with her. He was going to go back to Paris with his mother. When he saw this message, Gemma's beautiful fantasy was shattered in an instant. He realized that his relationship with Rudolph was just a game. He was filled with tears and turned away sadly. At this time, Rudolph's mother was in the manor. He heard that Rudolph was not doing his job and decided to take him back to Paris. Under pressure from his mother, Rudolph sent a message to Gemma. At the same time, Rudolph's mother found that her beloved statue was missing. Under Rudolph's confession, she found Charlie and hoped that Charlie could return the precious statue. But Charlie was confused and didn't know what happened. Rudolph's mother had to leave a contact information and left with Rudolph angrily. In the evening, Charlie asked Gemma for an explanation. Gemma decided to confess everything to her husband. Charlie, can we talk? There's something I need to tell you. Really? But I don't want to hear it. Charlie realized that Gemma had betrayed him. He started packing his bags and was about to leave. Where are you going? When are you coming back? I don't know. At this time, Gemma was filled with regret. This series of blows made Gemma sad. Her world seemed to collapse in an instant. However, fate did not seem to let go of Gemma. On this day, Gemma went to her friend's house in the town to help with the wall. Unexpectedly, she met her ex-boyfriend there. The two looked at each other. Memories of the past suddenly floated to Gemma's heart. This man was her lover. They used to be in love with each other, but she accidentally found out that the other party had cheated on her. The beautiful scenery broke in an instant. In the end, in sorrow, Gemma chose to marry a gentle and considerate Charlie. At this time, she wanted to ignore her ex-boyfriend, but her ex-boyfriend was obsessed with her. In the end, she gave up on her ex-boyfriend. Gemma broke the bottom line again. She returned to her ex-boyfriend, and all this was hit by Martin. Martin, who loved Gemma deeply, completely collapsed. At this time, Gemma, who was once again brainwashed by emotions, was ready to return to London with her ex-boyfriend. She found Martin. She asked him to help sell the house, but Martin didn't recognize Gemma again. He fell into a whirlpool of emotions. He reminded Gemma, I don't know what you have in mind, Gemma, but I beg you, don't do anything that you might regret. Regret what? I don't regret anything. Martin pointed out that Gemma and Rudolph's love was a mistake from the beginning, and this sentence betrayed him. Oh my God, the letter was you. Why? Because I'm afraid for you. That's why. In the end, Martin confessed his love for Gemma. He didn't expect to get Gemma's love, but he hoped that Gemma wouldn't go further and further on the road of love. Gemma was moved by Martin's kind reminder. He no longer hated what Martin had done. On the contrary, he gave Martin a deep kiss to express his gratitude. At this time, Gemma began to reflect whether she had lost herself on the road of love. She decided not to have anything to do with her ex-boyfriend anymore. She decided to leave here alone, and when she was packing up, she found a repaired statue in the warehouse. She suddenly felt infinite guilt for her husband Charlie. Although Charlie knew his infidelity, he still tolerated the repair of the statue. Gemma instantly realized that Charlie was the only one who really loved her, so she decided to take the initiative to express her apology to Charlie. She kept an eye on Charlie and hoped to be forgiven by him. Listen, I miss you, Charlie. I'm sorry, that's all. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I would like to see you again. I love you. At this time, Gemma was in tears. She regretted what she had done, but she didn't know if she could get Charlie's forgiveness. At the same time, Martin, who was sorry, decided to give Gemma the last gift. He made a bread for Gemma, and he quietly put it at the door of Gemma's house and left. Unfortunately, his ex-girlfriend, who was beaten to death, took it in, but Gemma told him that she would no longer have any emotional entanglement with him. No matter how her ex-boyfriend returned power, Gemma didn't do anything. But when she ate the bread that Martin sent, she suddenly got stuck in her throat. Her ex-boyfriend saw it and immediately held Gemma from behind to try to save her. But just at this time, Charlie, who received Gemma's message, came back with a happy heart. He saw his wife being held by a stranger. He thought Gemma was bullied. He was furious. He fought with his ex-boyfriend without knowing the truth. When the two figured it out, Gemma was gone. Charlie was in a hurry to find Martin to help, but when he saw Gemma's situation, Martin knew that nothing could be reversed. Gemma didn't get timely treatment in the end. Unfortunately, she died, and this tragedy caused by desire and moral conflict fell into a very tragic way. Only 3 men remained. They were full of endless regret and pain. This film is not just a story about betrayal and love, but also a profound analysis of human morality and desire. It shows us that when faced with temptation, people often lose their mind and make wrong choices. And these choices may bring irreversible consequences to themselves and those around them. Gemma's story is like a mirror that reflects the desire and struggle deep in our hearts and reminds us to stick to the bottom line of morality and cherish all all the happiness in front of us.